What is the dumbest thing you've seen someone spend their money on? 1. My wife is in a lot of mom groups on Facebook. The amount of people who beg for help for their poor babies, who won't get any Christmas birthday gifts, who also show off brand new giant tattoos is amazing. She shows me every time she finds one of these people, and it happens all the time. Usually multiple recent photos of them out drinking and partying as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there who blow big money in tattoos and partying instead of setting aside a little bit of money for their kids. 2. An alarm clock coffee machine. It was me. 3. My neighbors once spent all their money on a private fireworks show, then had to hide their cars from the repo man for months. Edit. No longer neighbors. 4. Knew a girl who would spend all her money on scratchers and drugs. She would constantly go on about how when she finally won big she was going to move and get clean. Her grandmother gave her a 20-30K inheritance. Nothing changed except how many scratchers she would buy. I saw her buy out the whole rolls occasionally. She wised up with the last few thousand and put some advance rent on an apartment, was in a motel, and fixed her car. But that money was gone in less than 2 months. 5. PSA. Accidental subscriptions. Remember kids, if you sign up for a free trial, be prepared to cancel that shit the second they allow you. Otherwise they'll start charging automatically, and you'll end up with $60 worth of rhino foreskin being delivered to your house each week. 6. I bought a cassette tape 2 weeks ago. I don't even have a way to play cassettes, but I still bought it. 7. Controversial, but seeing people burn thousands and thousands of dollars on tuber streamers is astounding to me. 8. I worked with a guy who'd spend $200 to $300 a week on non-muffins. He'd brag about it. I guess he thought if he'd spent enough he might get lucky or something. There's no sex in the champagne room. And just to be clear, there's no sex from OnlyFans either. Anyone who doesn't believe that should watch Hot Girls Wanted, turned on from Netflix. The camgirl who flew all the way to Australia with the intention of having sex with her number 1 customer could barely stand to spend a whole day with him. 9. My mom has spent $1,000 on crystals and stones. She continues to, and gives them as gifts. I have no idea WTF to do with them, so I put them in my plant spots, then she gets upset for some reason. Send help please. 10. Those $200 Reddit awards. 11. I dated a guy who would still use his debit card, even when his account was overdrafted, because he didn't realize he was charged overdraft fees for every transaction. I had to explain to him his single Snickers bar or bag of chips or whatever from the vending machine was now costing him an extra $35. And he did this multiple times every single shift he worked. 12. Gambling machines. I work in a barroom. People will play these machines for 12+ hours and never win. Then they win $700 the next night and think they were on top. It's insane. They look like zombies sitting there in a trance. Once had to unplug the machine on a patron who would not leave for closing. Kept saying 5 more minutes. I've heard of experiments done on rodents where electrodes were implanted into the pleasure centers of their brains. All they had to do was press a button in their cage, and the pleasure center would be stimulated. The rodents would hit the button over and over and over, and wouldn't even stop to eat. The poor things would starve to death with food inches away from them. I was on a cruise recently. The skip had a small casino on board. I was watching people mindlessly hammer the buttons on the slot machines, and that experiment was all I could think of. It was an uncomfortable parallel. 13. Weddings. Somewhere along the line, we seem to have forgotten what the true purpose of the day is. The worst part of how so many vendors basically triple the costs when they know it's a wedding. Flowers, cakes, catering, venue rentals, etc. I've booked events for small company functions, similar to a medium-sized wedding, 100 to 150 people, so I sometimes see wedding and non-wedding pricing for comparable venues, services, etc. 14. My parents spent a lot of money on me. Wrong thread, bro. This one is about wasted money. 15. Dude prepaid $15,000 on his private pilot's license just to not finish it. Now he and his family are struggling. 16. I would link you to a well-written article I once read, but I can't remember where. It was about growing up poor, and how it shapes habits. For instance, why do poor people have expensive iPhones and huge TVs and shit? It is because they dreamt about owning one for ages, And when once in a while they get a rainfall of money, pay back on taxes, won a lottery or whatever, they run and buy that thing. Because they are used to being poor, they have been it all their lives. They can continue being poor, but that money would make little difference in their day-to-day life. Sure, you can eat better for a couple of weeks, then the money is gone. Better than to invest it in that thing you cherished for an eternity. 17. Friend of mine pays a service to come pick up the dog shit in his yard that his dog leaves out there. He has kids. If it was me, I'd be making the kids go out and pick it up as part of their chores. They're not little kids. They're old enough to be doing shit like that. 18. This is probably a very unpopular opinion. But is buying bottled water not a waste of money? Of course it depends on the country where you live. Here in the Netherlands, tap water is very safe. It does taste good. That's of course subjective. 19. Their first vehicle. 18-year-olds getting loans of $20K on their first car. Boggles my mind. 22.89% interest, baby. So many people don't know how interest works. Anything over 20% means you'll pay about twice as much as the car is actually worth. I've seen people happy to get approved for insane loans like this, and then complain about a $4 convenience fee like that's the reason they're broke. 20. A friend's husband decided to buy himself a Rolls-Royce. They were in the middle of a cross-country move, trying to sell their house after spending far too much on their new house. She was budgeting groceries and I was buying her coffees when we met up, and he goes and buys himself a Rolls-Royce. 21. When I drink too much, drunk me will go online and purchase an absurd amount of googly eyes. I previously made the mistake of purchasing 10,000 of the idiots. I don't know why drunk Matt does this, but I always make it a point to store the gigantic ones somewhere when I purchase them. I spent quite an amount of money on it. 22. I have worked as a consultant for a tech company that provided technical infrastructure for anything mobile basically. They made insane amount of revenue by offering the back-end technology for SMS dating services. Those were all ran by customers of this company, but I have seen the numbers. It's by far the dumbest thing I have seen people spending lots of money on, because obviously you are not talking to some girl on the other end, but to some greasy old guy pretending to be a girl. They sent out these stock low-quality softcore porn pictures as MMS2 and pretend that's them. I still can't believe how much money some people spent on this. 23. This is more of a serious one, because it's easy to see it as dumb, but it makes my blood boil every time I hear about it happening. Romance scams. We'd all like to think we wouldn't be so easily duped, and maybe that's the case. But it floors me every time I read about some poor soul who has willingly parted with $20K or more to help their long-distance military spy model lumberjack dad partner out of a sticky situation. We all might think, how did the red flags not start going way up at that point? But the reality is they were neck-deep in the illusion, and even if they suspect something fishy might be going on, unfortunately the louder voice often is the heart, not the head, that tells them that they alone are able to save this person that they've come to genuinely love. Their feelings are 100% real, and to shatter that illusion must be so traumatizing that it's perhaps easier to part with the money than it is to imagine that you've been taken for a mug for potentially years. It's disgusting and horrendous, and if I could, I would dearly love to work in a job that helped prevent this happening to people. 24. My girlfriend wanted to go to the mall to buy one hat. She ended up spending over $200 on random stuff including slime, a paper airplane kit, a new wallet when she just got one last week, a new pair of shoes when she has 8 at home. The only reason she stopped is because she had to save $100 in her account to buy edibles later.